Let's see if I'm on, and I'm having trouble with the titles, so I'll try to fix that, but it's been so busy. It's been so busy, and we don't have a team. I'm just doing this. I'm just doing this, every night for almost 5 years now. Well, at the beginning, it was twice a day for what was it, years, twice a day. Um, and then, as institutional support came in, and we just understood how we needed to identify the crimes because we're the investigators, right? We're the investigators, we're the media, we're the um wow, wow, we the filers, right? We're the whistleblowers. We're the whistleblowers, right? And this case is not just Richard's case, it's our case also because they searched our home without a warrant. They searched our home without a warrant. If you don't know this case, and I'm just seem like I'm rambling on, I'm the mother of Richard Halliday, the Fort Bliss whistleblower soldier that was reporting criminal trafficking there on Fort Bliss and was murdered on Fort Bliss. And it's big. It's an internal. It's internal. Um, and it was a very volatile time there in 2019 and 2020. And because it was internal, they never contacted us. They they needed the time. They needed the time to hide everything. And let's see if I'm on. Let's see if everything's working. Yeah. Okay. Um, and and so it's been what is it, 1,720? That's not the exact date, but round about that time of his murder and the failure of the military. And I want to talk about that today. It's really just amazing all the failures around this case and the organized crime that is embedded in our institutions, in our agencies, and also our military. And this case it makes the Iran-Contra, which Iran-Contra was El Paso. These are the same actor. That was like a little test. I think Iran-Contra was a little test because Richard's case is far, far larger and the crimes are far more egregious. And of course, Richard was not the major target in all of this. The target was President Trump. Okay, President Donald Trump. That was the main target. And I'm not saying that because I'm partisan or one side or one way or whatever, even though I am. Even though I'm absolutely, I probably should put it on. I'm absolutely um, MAGA. I'm absolutely MAGA. Um, and there's many reasons for it because of what they have put Donald Trump through. But long before that, in 2015, when I first started, when he came down that escalator, and I'm like, who's this guy? I don't know who this guy is. And we're living in Europe, and of course, we have had 4 children, and we're homeschooling, and we're very, very busy. And um, but I paused when he came down that escalator, and he said, um, "I'm going to build a wall." And of course, I was born in New Mexico. I went to school in El Paso. I lived on Fort Bliss for many years. I know William Beaumont very well. I went to MacArthur. I went to um, Bassett. These are the schools I left. I left for Temple, Texas for high school, but I grew up in that area. I know that area. I've been over to Juarez so many times. I was born in White Sands. Very, very few people were ever born in White Sands. I'm one of the very, very few because they opened up a clinic. I was born and they shut the clinic. And my dad always said that, you're one of the very few babies born there. Most babies are born at William Beaumont in El Paso. So, so I'm very familiar with that area. And of course, Richard's father, my husband, is also very familiar with that area, lived there for many, many years. Three of his siblings were born at William Beaumont. So we understand that area. Um, and so when all of this came to be, we weren't just because we were in Europe. We understood what President Trump was saying when he said he was going to build a wall and make Mexico pay for it. So what did that mean to me? What did that mean to our family? It was, oh my gosh, they are going to go after this man because he just exposed a deficit, the $50 billion deficit we have with Mexico. That's what he just exposed. It was never about like hate or racism or anything. It was purely financial in our brain that he just exposed how we were being robbed. Um, and our factories and our production and everything was being sucked. I was a pro voter, right? Because I lived in Texas, in Temple at the time, and then Colleen, our eldest daughter, was born there in Colleen. Rob was at Fort Hood at the time. So, I know that area well too. I know the Leon River very well. I know Belton Lake very well. So all of this, what happened to Vanessa Guillen, later on, we understood the area, we understood the dynamics, um, and so when President Trump said that, we were we were astonished, and we absolutely in Germany, from Germany, started watching every video we could of him, every speech. I looked up his financials to know what he was all about because, what did he build? What did he do? Who was this man? Because we know who Biden is. We know who Clinton is. We know who the Bushes are. We know, you look at their financials and you know what they're about. And it's not very impressive, is it? It's not. It's a little scary. It's a little scary because they're up to no good. They were all up to no good. And here comes President Trump, and he has what? He has he he has Turnberry, right? Turnberry. It's like, wow, he has Turnberry. Is he he's just making history. He's making history. Because if you don't know about Turnberry, that is the said birthplace of Robert the Bruce. Robert the Bruce had the very short-sightedness of turning in his very good friend William Wallace, Braveheart. You know him as Braveheart. And Braveheart, William Wallace was brutally murdered. And Robert the Bruce never forgave himself for it. Um, the betrayal, he did not expect the betrayal. He was making a deal. He was making a deal, and that was a bad deal. And his very good friend was murdered for it. And William Wallace wasn't one to be murdered easily. He was a towering man. I think he was like 7 feet. I know his sword was like 6 feet long. He was just an incredible Um, Incredible strong man. His father was very, very strong. And if you've lived in Europe and you get the chance to go and see all of that and learn about it, it's just magnificent. And Robert the Bruce is said to have been born at Turnberry, where President Trump owns the hotel and golf resort. And that's Scotland. And if I say Scotland and you're talking about building something, you shudder because you know how difficult it is. So to get that kind of historical piece of property and then be able to turn it into something beautiful and productive, and Turnberry, the town, just has benefited uh, so much from that. So when we learned that he had Turnberry, um, and Robert the Bruce is just, I'm going to go down he is known as Spider Man. He's the original Spider Man because in his battles, uh, because he was never going to surrender again or make a deal again after what happened to William Wallace. And he fought, and he didn't win every one of them. And he was on a run. He was on the run, and he was in a cave hiding, and he was watching a spider, and the spider would never give up. Would never give up, no matter how the wind blew the web apart. The spider kept spinning, kept working hard until it achieved its goal. And William Wallace said, I've got to be like the spider. I got to be like the spider. So if you get a kilt that is a Robert the Bruce kilt, you'll see a spider sewn inside of the hem, inside of, or even on top, but most of the time it's inside of the kilt. You'll see a spider. He's the original Spider Man because after that lesson, I don't think he lost too much. Um, and he just was uh, got independence for Scotland from England, right? From England. So it was just an incredible story, and why am I telling it? Because that piece of land is not something just anyone can achieve to get, to buy, to purchase, much less to go through the government system of Scotland. Oh my gosh, it's tough, y'all. It's very, very tough there. Um, Much more tough than here, and here is tough, right? With everything you have to do, and to turn that, um, broken down place into this beautiful hotel, golf course, resort is just a huge achievement of negotiation, of going by the law, negotiation, and getting all the workmen to accomplish something that historical, that beautiful. And he also has pieces in, so just looking at his financials and seeing what he had in Ireland, what he achieved in South Korea, in Seoul, South Korea. I think he has like 4 towers there in South Korea, which is just an enormous achievement. Um, and all over the world. And so that takes a lot of negotiation, and through all that negotiation through his lifetime, he absolutely got to know the culture and the people of the world, and so we were very impressed with his financials. I posted them up. I don't know if Facebook still has them, but early on in this whole thing, when the rhetoric was so against Trump. I mean, it's against Trump now, right? President Trump, but it was always so against Trump. And I'm like, have you looked at his financials? So early on in 2015, we were absolutely impressed. And then, of course, he became president in 2016. We were in Israel. We had voted absentee ballot from Europe, and we were in Israel for that election. And we were really celebrating there in Israel. We were with, of course, Richard. We were, of course, with Richard, and it was, you know, I don't know. I don't think we hurt anyone's feelings or anything by celebrating. Um, we're not obnoxious or anything, but we were very happy to see him come on. And eh, then it was just obvious after that that the deep state, and there's absolutely a deep state, and we've been proving it with this case. And of course, Sean Bernabe is deep state. Okay, Sean Bernabe, Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe is deep state. He is absolutely treasonous. He's absolutely serving a foreign and domestic enemy, embedded in our beautiful uniform, wearing our beautiful stars, getting our beautiful, very expensive benefits as a general with everything. He gets everything, transportation, help, aids, everything, house, living expense, everything, vacation time, an amazing retirement package. And he is absolutely a traitor. He's absolutely a traitor, and he's treasonous, and he needs to be stripped from our uniform and our stars. He has no, we don't want someone like him in our uniform and in our stars. Okay. We don't. And it really makes you wonder what the hell the Senate Arms Committee was thinking, right? Because it makes you really wonder who their loyalties are also for promoting such a rotten, treasonous traitor man. And he is, and I'm not just saying that. I try to be very careful, but he is. What I'm saying about him is very kind. Okay, it's very, very kind because he's far, far worse. Okay, he's far, far worse. You have to remember that under his watch, the emergency intake center was built. It housed 10,000 children at a time on Fort Bliss, and they trafficked 10,000 children at a time, um, hundreds of thousands of them. And we're hearing that it's close to 1 million now that were trafficked and that are now mostly dead. You cannot, what I'm saying, um, that he's a traitor, that he's treasonous, that uh, he pollutes he he pollutes our uniform. He pollutes our stars. He pollutes the command. He is a danger to our country. He's a danger to every service member that comes in contact with him or is under him. He cannot be allowed to stay where he is at AFRICOM Europe. He's in probably Stuttgart. He just cannot. And what I'm saying about him is so nice because it's far, far worse. And I'll let the court martial, prosecution, whatever, however the law does this, because he does need to be facing the death penalty. He really does. He needs to be facing the death penalty for what he has done. And in our son's case, it's just absolutely, he is just the worst. He's up to no good. He was up to no good with Veronica Escobar, the representative, which, she absolutely needs to be arrested also. So it is very, very clear that the cartel tied um, foreign and domestic enemies absolutely were embedded and are still embedded in our military and in El Paso, in the agencies. And I'm sure, because we hear that they are um, investigating Arizona, every county in Arizona for election tampering, the voting, and everything like that. And I'm sure, well, I know for a fact because of the way they have set up things, even with the largest ISDs, Ysleta and Socorro and El Paso, the ISDs with, of course, El Paso ISD. That's how they manage, tamper, and everything with elections. And with those elections comes the managing and the manipulating and the fraud around the elections for contracts, for any kind of contract. So they do it through the ISDs. It's very, very clear. And but I really wanted to focus on the military because it is it is so difficult because I want to talk about the Mayella Crucius. And so let's say that Sean Bernabe did not know about the deep state um, criminal group, Mayella Crucius criminal group. And they are so criminal, right? I don't know um, how they're not being arrested at this point. I really don't know. I don't know. It is, it's beyond me. I'm like, where's Pam Bondi, right? Where's Pam Bondi? Where's the FBI? Um, I don't know why. I don't know how they're not being arrested because the evidence is so in your face, right? The evidence is so clear. It's such hard evidence. There's no doubt that the Mayellas absolutely are a criminal operation with the Crucius family. And if you want to know where the hate crime is, the hate crime is with the Mayella Crucius family, right? But not what they told you, not with what they told you. It is the covering up of the killing of uh, the Mexicans, a German, and Americans. And I try not to separate, even though I really love my German heritage, but I don't call myself a German. You know, um, I say, oh, I'm a German, meaning my heritage, but I'm an American, right? My passport is an American passport. My loyalties are to the United States of America. And so I know, and that's why I love El Paso so much. I love that Hispanic, German border kind of culture. It's just when it is booming, when it is a golden age, it's fabulous. The music is fabulous. The food is fabulous. The just the whole atmosphere is fabulous. And I think everyone that lives in El Paso would absolutely agree. But when you have embedded, cartel tied up to no good, thieves, larceny of the heart, murderers that are protecting the murderers, going into the system, extorting the system, taking advantage of the system, while serving foreign and domestic enemies, and protecting killers of people that are shopping in a Walmart, um, or there's more to it than just that, y'all. There's more to it than just that, because and it's all going to come out. I'm just saying, there's a lot more to it, but um, because their target was President Trump. But things were very chaotic at that time because President Trump had Richard Halliday. Okay. President Trump had Richard Halliday. And, uh, you know, Richard was standing up to the criminal trafficking. He was the brave one, he was the courageous one that was pointing out the cowardice of the likes of Sean Bernabe or Clem Coward or Jay Pollan or David Park or um, Michael Roddick or you can go up the chain of command um, to Major General White. I think he was Major General White. Um, so it's Dauber. Sorry, I always forget Colonel Dauber. But I haven't forgotten him. He's on the list. Colonel Dauber, he was up to no good. They're all up to no good, especially Lieutenant Colonel Michael Roddick. We haven't forgotten about him, but we're focusing on, the command. They could never do what they did if they didn't have agency and um, institutional support for the crimes that they were doing. And Sean Bernabe absolutely gave it to them, and so did Donna Martin, and so did General Mealy, and so did General McConville, and so did, of course, um, Michael Garrett. And then, of course, we have David Stewart, who absolutely, all of them should be facing the death penalty. I mean, really, because it's treason what they did. They're absolute traitors. Absolute. They're not little traitors. They're huge traitors. They are just absolutely treasonous. And I'm going to put out, because David Stewart's still active duty, and it really breaks my heart. I met his wife, and I met his daughters. It breaks my heart, but I'm sorry. The husband father is an absolute traitor and cannot be trusted. Cannot be trusted. No more. We watched him become a massive traitor and commit treason. We watched it in front of our eyes. He had a choice. He had a choice, and he took the dark side. He took the dark side. Now, Sean Bernabe was always on the dark side, okay? Sean Bernabe, David Park, Jay Paulin, Michael Ruggiero, Arona and his wife, Serena Arona, and of course, um, all Leilani Hart's group and all, they've always been on the dark side. But David Stewart, they absolutely, he chose them. He chose them. He chose Leilani Hart. He chose Arona. He chose uh, uh, Michael Roddick. He chose Dallas Hart. He chose um, the Command Sergeant Major Jakovitz. He chose, because Jakovitz was always on the dark side. Okay, he's always on the dark side. Even though he wanted to tell us something, I don't know what wanted to tell us. Now I don't think it was anything good. Um, but because their target was their own financial gain, their next star, of course, but it was at the price of destroying President Trump, because President Trump had Richard, and Richard was willing to be a whistleblower. And you see, President Trump, and I'm sure there were other whistleblowers. Okay, I'm speaking as the mother of Richard Halliday, right? I'm sure Asia Graham report got in. I don't know if how all that worked out. Um, I know that the soldier by the name of Graham, that was a whistleblower in her case, the witness in her case, he was also run down, um, and his life was taken from him. So Glennon Oakley Jr. Um, that is also always on our minds. But I'm speaking from Richard. Richard, absolutely, there is no doubt that he was reporting, um, and that he was standing up to them, and that he was getting severely, brutally. I mean, they're bullies, y'all, and they absolutely abuse their power and all the tools that we've entrusted to them, and weaponized the tools that we've entrusted to them against Richard. Absolutely. right, used the UCMJ, and they used it against us too. They used it against us with the asymmetric warfare tactics. They kicked us out. Meaning they pulled Richard off of the rolls to put us in jurisdiction limbo, and it wasn't until we really gave them a clear message that we weren't going to go away, and our Instagram post went viral, that they decided they had to control the narrative. We didn't know that at the time, but it's very clear now with evidence. They were controlling the narrative, and they brought Richard back on the rolls, and they had no intention to do an op ord, a real search, or anything. It was all to control the damage and to cover up for the murderers of the Walmart mass shooting, um, and prolong, continue the attack against President Trump. They absolutely had to control the narrative so that they could absolutely continue to try and attempt to destroy President Trump. There is no other way to explain this, but that was their goal. Because when when you have whistleblowers, when you have documented crimes, right? And you're the chief law enforcement officer, which you are as president, then you have the obligation to look into it. And so Richard was the whistleblower, and President Trump um, was responding, was responding with the audits, with the investigations. And Sean Bernabe was brought in because he is absolutely deep state, serving foreign and domestic enemies, to come in there and control the damage, and really fight President Trump, really. Um, and so it was, and by fighting President Trump, right, to attack him, it's mutiny, right? That was mutiny. That's what I call it, a mutiny. With Mealy, a mutiny; with McConville, a mutiny; with Donna Martin, a mutiny. She was IG. She was provost marshal and the IG of the army. Absolute mutiny, right? And David Stewart, mutiny. Clem Coward, he was sent to Washington D.C. in a cushy Pentagon job to research women in the military or something like this, or rape of women in the military or something. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on this. They're probably gonna flag it now. But that is, it's just a crazy story. You can't make it up. It's just the way things happened, and they are absolutely brought in to fight President Trump, right? Just a mutiny to unseat him as President of the United States, as Commander in Chief of the military. And so they were clearly, we have evidence over and over again, they were not obeying his orders. And, to have for President Trump not to get rid of Sean Bernabe at this point is kind of shocking to me, because he absolutely needs to. President Trump, if you're listening, you need to get rid of Sean Bernabe. Um, his job is to betray you. His job is to not obey your orders. His job is to be up to no good with his service members and breach security and endanger um, our American forces. That's his job. He cannot be allowed to stay there, and he absolutely was shaking up, really in a very very bad way. Fort Bliss. It was so bad, and he left He left it in a much worse case. So he left the base to go to Fort Hood in the hands of the cartel. In the hands of the cartel. Um, Absolutely just stunning. Um, uh, Controlled by the cartel. And what do I mean? You mean that he didn't know about Veronica Escobar? He was meeting Veronica Escobar. And Veronica Escobar is absolutely cartel tied because she is cartel tied with Mario Raskin Ortiz, the chief medical examiner, the judge. He's a judge, right? He's a judicial officer, and he adjudicates the cause and manner of death in capital cases. So he's absolutely a foreign national, but he's here illegally, and he's absolutely cartel tied, and he's absolutely cartel tied to 3905 Bliss Avenue, which is Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, which is Danae Katzen, which is Belen Rocha. And, you can. David Candelara, I mean, big players there. So and of course, he gets almost $500,000 of taxpayer money a year. That's approved by right now. It's Ricardo Samaniago. He is the county judge right now. But when he first came in, when he was first brought in, he was brought in by Veronica Escobar when she was the county judge. And so Veronica Escobar met with us. That was all, that's a long story too. Um, and she absolutely met with Sean Bernabe, and Sean Bernabe picked and chose what media to bring in, and it was uh, David Candelara, right? It was Natasia Paloma. It was Angela Kachurga. And these are all cartel tied. Okay. These are all cartel tied. And where else can you can see it very, very clear in the DA's office um, with Bill Hicks, with Montoya, uh, you know, and sometimes I think Montoya is related to them because he just looks like them to me. I don't know. Do you think Montoya looks like um, the Ambrose family? I don't know. He just looks like the Ambrose family to me. He has the same ears and that. So I don't know. I don't know. Someone maybe with some forensics out there can let me know if that's true. But there's family connections and all of this. There's so much of that going on, and um, uh, and if you're qualified and if you're duly elected and everything, and you're doing everything by the law and you're playing by the rules, uh, you know, uh, okay. But no, you got other situations where people that are more qualified are being prevented from getting a job. And and you see what happened to Yvonne Rosales, and she is right now really the holdover DA. So and she's I guess I don't want to speak for her, but she hasn't come back, and I think it's because I mean, wouldn't you be afraid? Wouldn't you be afraid if you knew the DA's office is full of cartel, right? Cartel operatives or cartel tied operatives, right? Or people that are covering for the cartel, right? People that are covering for the cartel and, aiding and abetting the cartel, right? Aiding and abetting the cartel. And, you have that very clear with the Mayelas because they were with Jaime Esparza and the DA's office aiding and abetting the cartel. And they were with the Cruciuses in the federal courthouse aiding and abetting um, the cartel with David Candelara. I mean, with David Guadarrama, Judge Guadarrama, and who was interning for David Guadarrama. It was Priscilla Mata, and Priscilla Mata is now in Ysleta ISD, of course, to you know, have her way. Uh, um, and um, there's a lot of funny business there, a lot of funny business, and it's just taken almost 5 years to see all of this going on. And what I'm trying to tell you is, are you convinced that Sean Bernabe, as a general with all of his intelligence, didn't know this? That he didn't know what was going on? That he didn't know that there were all this cartel? He didn't know uh, General Kelly was such a failure, or was General Kelly a failure? I mean, General Kelly was Southcom, right? General Kelly was supposed to take care of all of the murders and the dangerous activity that was happening over in Juarez, that was spilling over into El Paso, and it didn't happen. It got worse and worse. So much so that 10,000 children at a time were being trafficked on Fort Bliss, through that border, through Fort Bliss, with all everything being paid for by taxpayers, and all the contracts given out for that huge tent death camp, the death camp. We were paying for the death camp for hundreds of thousands of children. And you don't think that Sean Bernabe knew the abuses that were going on in that death camp? He was, I'm German. All I think about is, oh my gosh, where, Sean Bernabe, he's over a death camp. He was commanding over a death camp. And while he's doing that, he's doing everything that he can to lie and obstruct and manipulate the murder of a whistleblower soldier reporting on the criminal trafficking, who's he obstructed. Who do you think got Judge Rodriguez's whistleblowers report? It was Sean Bernabe, with others, but Sean Bernabe received that report that named Leilani Hart, that named CID Tavita Nusa as tampering with Richard's uh, investigation, and and identifying them as suspects in the murder of Richard Halliday. And what did Sean Bernabe do? He whitewashed it. And so when I was told that, oh my gosh, you know, this was turned in and it got whitewashed. Did I believe it? Yes, because I had seen it in front of my eyes with Nadal Baim. With the Nadal Baim being that whole report, him being the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bugado in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM, and Brigado is up to no good, okay? He has a lot of problems. He has dirty hands. And do you think that Sean Bernabe didn't know that? Sean Bernabe knew that. Sean Bernabe knew who Nadal Baim was and lied to our face. So when Judge Roger Rodriguez had sent his whistleblower report to Sean Bernabe, naming the prime suspects, uh, and it was no uh, coincidence that Leilani Hart is Richard's platoon leader's mother, Dallas Hart. Dallas Hart is Richard's platoon leader, and Leilani Hart is his mother, and they're tampering and being named as the suspects in the murder of our son. And Sean Bernabe is whitewashing Nadal Baim, who is, selling $3 million worth of, trying to sell uh, ammunition to the El Paso Police Department. Where did he get that ammunition? Where did he get it? The absolute trafficking, criminal trafficking of humans, of children, of weapons, of ammunition, of equipment, of substance abuses, right? Substance abuses. Um, and Sean Bernabe didn't know that. You had under his watch a 14-year-old girl living in the barracks being to the highest bidder, to the highest bidder in the barracks, night after night for 4 months. 4 months before, he's like, okay, well, maybe we got caught now. Maybe we got caught. Maybe someone out there has some character and won't put up with this kind of child abuse. Um, and that kind of child abuse is called R star PE. R star PE, right? So, yeah, that and I he doesn't know that that can be used against the soldiers. He doesn't know that that can be used against his soldiers, that they can be blackmailed, that they're taking videos, that they're taking pictures, that they're airdropping these videos and these pictures, and that they're also putting them online and everything. You're telling me he doesn't know that he lives back in the you know, olden pre photograph days. Is that what you're, no, he, his, his crimes are so egregious. The endangerment of Fort Bliss, the breaches of security, the endangerment of all of our troops, all of our service members, the national security, the allowing the infiltration of a foreign criminal organization into our military and, not, um, and, allowing it to flourish in El Paso because if Fort Bliss would have been doing what it supposed to be doing, um, uh, they could have put pressure on the law enforcement there in El Paso to get their act together and get rid of the cartel activities. They could have done that because Fort Bliss brings in so much money. But I think that El Paso would be uh, far better without Fort Bliss because I think that Fort Bliss um, instigates or what do you call it? Feeds it. It's like the fuel to the cartel activity there in El Paso. So if I was in El Paso, and I would say close down Fort Bliss. That's what I would say. Close down Fort Bliss. Um, my Oma used to say, "Lieber keine wie so eine," which means I rather have none. I rather have much less than something like that, right? I rather have less than something so evil like that. That's what it means. But it sounds really good in German. Lieber keine wie so eine. It's a nice little ring to it. And uh, yeah, so when it comes to Fort Bliss, when it comes to um, Sean Bernabe, Liebe keine wie so eine. Absolutely. And so he really needs to um, hopefully the posts and thank you so much for sharing them. I hope you share all of them, especially the Mayela Crucius ones. But of course the military ones, it's so super important for our national defense. And to get accountability for Richard and also to get the answers of uh, his remains, to get Richard's remains back. Um, they want to kind of throw you a bone every so often. And then President Trump came in uh, January 20th and January 24th, we had the in the line of duty declaration. That wasn't a mistake. I just want to let you know this because I don't really talk about so much about what's happening behind the scenes. But I want to tell everyone that we're in communication with the top. With the top. Okay, we're in communication with the top. And I just want to give that hope to everybody because, I see a lot of comments. Oh, w- can you believe it? He's still in power. And when is this ever going to end? Is this how we have to live? And with these corrupt thieves and murderers and treasonous traitors, and you know, uh, I don't know how else to say it. Right? Do we have to live? And I want to say, when they are so embedded, like the Mayella Crucius, and also like in the military, because don't forget, this was Mealy, McConville, Kelly, General Kelly. Absolutely, y'all. He was working for the governor of Chihuahua. He was Southcom way before. I think he started Southcom in 2012 or something like that, right? I mean, he knew that southern El Paso Juarez border. He knew that like the back of his hands. Um, and he was up to no good. He was up to no good. And so, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I know it was absolutely 2014, and I know that he built the Hempstead um, migrant. Well, they call them unaccompanied. No, taken children in Florida, and his company was all about contracting for the children's death camps. Um, yeah, he's just up to no good. So, um, so we have Kelly, we have Michael Garrett, the Force Comp. Very close connections with Washington, D.C., very close connections with North Carolina and Fort Bragg, and of course, the Force Comp over Fort Hood with Vanessa Guillen and with Richard. And he just absolutely, he could have done so much. But what he did was work behind the scenes to control the narrative, to protect the murderers, okay? And when I say that, because Richard's case is connected to the Walmart case, I want to say to the Hispanics, the killing of the Hispanics, the German, and the Americans, and he protected that. And so that's aiding and abetting. That's aiding and abetting. I mean, it's just so you've got all of that. There's so many, of course, the Jag is a big part of that. Um, and then, of course, with the federal courthouse, with the Mayellas, and then in the DA's office, and then in the FBI field office, and then in Walmart cybersecurity, and then in the ISDs, and then in mental health. In mental health, and Lorraine Mayella, mental health. Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be something to be able to be face to face with the victims, with the families, and know everything going on, and even can kind of do a little psyop, with them, and who knows if medication was distributed, and but to be that close, to know who knows what, all of the eyewitnesses, and then to get paid for it, and to get paid for it both taxpayers' money or with, I know that El Paso Community Foundation, woohoo, really gave a big donation, for that. So, they're up to no good. Um, all this mental health stuff, it is absolutely a doorway into witness intimidation, and knowing what witnesses know and things like that. So, uh, there's just so much of this. And, but the main point is they were attacking President Trump, and Richard was absolutely a hero, and standing against it, and they had to silence him. I think they had to silence, of course, Glennon Oakley Jr. And I love to put Glennon Oakley Jr.'s face next to Richard's because they're both so beautiful, right? They're just makes me cry. Um, what they did. Um, I'm just thinking of Glennon Oakley Jr.'s video on the day of August 3rd, 2019. That's Dallas Hart's birthday, by the way, and I don't think that's a coincidence. Um, but yeah, Glennon Oakley, and just really, really sweet, really just a nice young man. And and he was found um, April 8th, April 8th, 2020. Richard, July. Um, of course, right during the whole uh, um, Vanessa Guillen, the whole Vanessa Guillen finding her. So, uh, yeah, and you don't think that Michael Garrett should have uh, done his utmost? No, he was too busy covering it all up, y'all. He needs to face the harshest. I don't know if they can get the death penalty. I hope so. I hope so. Um, for what they've done, it's just so bad. And I'm just thanking everyone for sharing that. And all the comments are just amazing. The comments, people get it. The soldiers get it. They understand. And of course, there's some infiltrators in there, but very few, very, very few. The people get it. And I think that President Trump absolutely, well, he has a mandate. He has a mandate. And, he absolutely knows about Richard. He knows about Richard. Um, and he knows what's going on in El Paso, and he knows it's just it's not even 100 days yet. And I think uh yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I think this is from day one, um he has shown that it is a huge priority. So we are absolutely going to fight, 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 right beside him, and have faith that he will deliver, that he will do what we have mandated him to do as our president of the United States, as our chief law enforcer, as our chief magistrate, and as our commander in chief. Um, we are absolutely going to stand beside him and fight, fight, fight. So, thank you so much. Thank you, Anicia, for coming on all the time with your prayers and your love. We are burning the midnight oil, but it just can't be helped. Um, and I know I said I try to always come on. I think, oh, I'm going to come on in the afternoon, but it's just been really, really busy. And of course, this is Holy Week. There's things that have to be done for celebration, right? For the upcoming celebration. So, I just want to thank everyone for your patience and for your love and for sharing all of the posts, um, because the people get it. The people get it. I don't think you should be afraid anymore. I mean, it's up to you, but I think you can share now. Uh, Absolutely, because the way the comments are going, it's just amazing. People are absolutely, they get it. They get it. And there's so much rhetoric out there that's false rhetoric that makes you think that the enemy is larger in number than what they really are. Um, it's like a phantom, like a big dark cloud or whatever, but you can just kind of wave your hand or whatever, and it's like a pesky cloud or something. Um, So I don't think they're as big as um, they make out because of their media control and how loud they are. I just don't think they're as large. So we are getting traction, and I do want to tell you that we are in communication with the top, and I think that um, yeah, as soon as I'm allowed to say more, I will absolutely say more. So thank you so much. God bless you, and we will be back